It's heavy.
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Reaction Beanie 176. Day in the neighborhood. My brothers and sisters. As always, y'all, I thank y'all and I appreciate y'all for coming back to the channel and fucking with the bean. Now, real quick, y'all. It was a while back, but I remember somebody had left a comment, and I can't remember who the person was, but they left a comment on one of my past videos, you know what I'm saying, one of my past reaction videos, and it was like, you need to start doing shorts, you know what I'm saying, to get the channel out. Like, we need to get the channel out to both people. And I've been thinking about it, and been thinking about it, and whoever said that, I think they right. I think I need to start doing shorts, because like shorts is just the new wave on YouTube. Every YouTuber pretty much doing shorts, you know what I'm saying? And I do think that will help us get more into the algorithm if I start doing shorts. So be on the lookout for shorts real soon. Really don't know how I'm gonna do them yet, but I'm thinking about it. I digress. We gonna get into today's video. And for today's video, we gotta go back to that boy who? Mike. From that chapter. Going back to Mike, y'all. The title of the video is The Couple Beheaded by a Mysterious Group. Beheaded. That's the first thing that stick out to me. Next thing, mysterious group. That's making me wonder, are we going to ever know who these people are? Or is this just going to be one of those just unsolved mystery ass videos? I don't know. But we finna see. But before we see, my people, y'all know what y'all got to do. Get whatever you might need. Get what you need, man. We back to that chapter once again, baby. Y'all got what y'all need. Y'all ready to go? Then let's fucking go.
Hey you, and welcome. My name is Mike, and in this old video, what we are doing is heading on down to Georgia, much like the devil did in this one, for a good old, southern style mystery, y'all. God, you know when I do accents? Right now, it sounds good up here, but then when I go review it later, it's like, yikes. This was a really scary and odd one, folks. Heinous, horrific, frustrating, and there's no shortage of theories, ranging from the credible to psychics, which I'm all in on this one. If the Magic 8 Ball hasn't solved it yet, don't give up. Yeah, there's so many theories. We even got murderous alligators chomping around and doing things which, I mean, I don't have proof an alligator couldn't do it. Let me put it that way. And if an alligator ever did learn to use a Magic 8 Ball, then we are really screwed. But this story, like I said, there's a mysterious group of people in this story who planned something and did something that's absolutely terrifying and are still out there to this day. So let's give it a go.
Let's give it a go. Let's give it a go. And y'all heard what he said, right? They still out there till this day. So it seemed like it just sound like we ain't gonna know who the fuck did this fucked up shit. Let's go.
Our story today gets you an invite to the wealthy, exclusive, gated community of Great Waters Reynolds. You're invited. Situated on the shores of Lake Oconee. Spanning 18,000 acres, Lake Oconee is a man-made lake, and it's a big y'all one at that. It's fairly big. That's big water.
Big.
Encroaching on 3 different counties, them being Greene, Morgan, and our county of choice, Putnam. It's not far from Atlanta, Athens, or Augusta, and roughly 16 miles from the city of Eatonton. And along with, the usual water sports you would expect with an attractive lakeside community, you also got fishing, a Jack Nicklaus golf course, and even a Ritz-Carlton, earning a solid 4.5 on TripAdvisor. Look at you! And just like most, affluent communities, it has the old population and the low crime, especially this type of crime. I mean, you know, you'll have the odd thing taken from a car here and there, but otherwise it's a safe place with its own manned gatehouse. Like, man, mother of God, this is like, it's like Jurassic Park in more ways than one. But you know yourself, it's the kind of place where people would host Kentucky Derby parties with the big hats and the champagne and the tuxedos and all that sort of shite. And that is exactly what was happening on the morning of Saturday, May 3rd, 2014, when Huel and Peggy Wynn held a gathering for a few friends and neighbours to get together, have a few laughs, you know, watch the races, a few sips maybe, who knows. But conspicuous by their absence from this party was Russell and Shirley Dermond. They were close friends, they were neighbours, they were regular attendees at these sort of events. The Derby came and went, and after 3 more days passed without a peep from the Dermonds. Worried about their friends, Peggy and Huel decided to check on them at their house, less than a mile away, just down the road. Despite being relatively fit and healthy for their ages, the Dermonds were still nearing their 90s, Russell 88 and Shirley 87. Arriving at 147 Caroline Drive on the morning of the 6th of May 2014, the Wynns, they found the previous day's newspaper in the mailbox just out front. Okay, odd. But then even more worrying than them not collecting the newspaper for at least 24 hours was the fact that the back door to the Dermond's house, wide open.
Wow.
Never a good sign, even in a neighborhood as safe as this. The Wynns entered and called out, checking each room of the 3,200 square foot house one at a time. Nothing seemed out of place. You know, there was an unmade bed here, there was a lampshade that was kind of askew, but, you know, nothing really. Like, no signs of violence that we would kind of expect to see. You know, shit thrown around, blood. On the kitchen table was the Friday, the 2nd of May edition of USA Today. The crossword was partly done, so they were definitely here, you know, on the 2nd. Otherwise, though, it was completely empty, the whole place. Shirley, being a deeply house-proud woman, had always kept the place spotless, and that's just how it appeared. Appeared, that is, until Huel, upon re-examining the garage he had just been in but went back in case he had missed something, found Russell lying on the ground in a pool of blood between the Dermond's 2 cars.
Damn.
He had been decapitated.
Crazy.
It seems that on the first check of the house, they'd only given the garage a quick glance over and had missed Russell, whose body was obscured by the large cars. Towels had been placed around the body in a clear effort to stop the blood from running out under the garage door and outside. And Russell's head was missing.
It's just so crazy, man, that like, bro, what the fuck? Why you cutting people head off? And I hate these type of stories, y'all, because these people damn near 90 years old, man, to do that to a elderly couple like that is just wild. It's that shit just, I don't know, man. They lived all this time, bro, to go out with their head being cut off. Like, it's just so fucked up. But let's keep going.
Jersey natives, Russell and Shirley had been married for 64 years, since 1950. After serving in the Navy during World War II, Russell would go on to work as an executive for a clock-making company. Shirley attended Barnard College before marrying Russell, and after staying home to raise their 4 children, Mark, Keith, Bradley, and Leslie. Mark Dermond, also known as Lark, he was the couple's eldest son, and he struggled his entire life with addiction, substance abuse problems throughout it. He had done some time in prison even, and had been in and out of rehab. He'd even stolen from Russell and Shirley, you know, a couple of times, but he always refused their help, you know, so it seems like, you know, Russell and Shirley, they had pretty much zilch contact with Mark. Life was otherwise good for the Dermonds and their other children. The couple moved down to Georgia in the 80s, eventually building their dream home at the lake. Golf for Russell and garden and bridge club for Shirley as they got into their old age. Well, they had 9 grandchildren to keep them fairly busy, so But they weren't, just done yet, moving down there. They eventually acquired 19 Hardee's restaurants, franchises, which then they were running and working at, and that was then work for their kids. Two of their children would eventually do that too. They were never like too flashy though. They weren't, big spenders living on big boots. They just worked hard. And around the turn of the millennium, so around the year 2000, they were like, listen, let's pack it in. Let's enjoy our retirement. Let's let the kids take over and, chillax.
Alright, so it's either one or two ways that I'm leaning towards with this right now, y'all. It's either one of their kids, maybe the oldest, who was addicted to drugs and was stealing from them. Either he did this shit, or it could just be the fact that these people had a lot of goddamn money, bro. They own 19 Hardys. They had some fucking money, bro. So it could have been on some money shit, but then I doubt that because I don't think anything was damn missing from the house. Ain't like they got robbed. I don't think. I don't know. Let's just go.
However, it was in August 2000 that tragedy struck the Dermond family, when Mark and a friend had gone to Atlanta to buy crack. Unfortunately for them though, when they went to this dealer, he was not a drug dealer, he was a death dealer, and instead of selling, he would be robbing, and he had an iron trained on them both, Mark and his friend. Mark, he was shot twice. He was shot in the neck and the torso. Mark's friend, shot in the leg, but Mark would die at the scene on
Okay, I was wrong about that, because he dead.
his 47th birthday.
Dang.
Though he'd stopped golfing, Russell still enjoyed regular walks and was an avid reader. Shirley played bridge twice a week and loved it. Loved a good crossword. Together, they went to church, they visited with friends and neighbors, and were, by all accounts, just good old people. There was nothing to suggest, a violent end to either of them. For what, like, that kind of shite. They wouldn't be involved in that kind of stuff. Sheriff's officers responded within minutes of the 911 call.
Putnam County 911.
Yes, I have an emergency.
Okay.
I think I have somebody dead.
Okay, what's the address, ma'am?
Sure, what's the address here? I don't know. We're in Greatwater.
Is it 147 Carolyn Drive?
Yes, 147 Carolyn Drive.
Okay, and who is it?
The Dermonds.
Okay, and you're a neighbor or something?
Yes, I just came to check on them. They've been missing for about 4 days.
Are they in the house?
Yes.
And what's your name, ma'am?
I'm Peggy Wynn.
Okay.
Oh, my God. Oh.
Okay. They're both dead, Miss Wynn?
Did you find both of them? No.
Okay.
No, it's just one.
Okay.
I don't know where the other one is.
Okay. All right, I'll get you a deputy in the ambulance over there just in...
Crazy.
And if it's possible, even more worrying than Russell's missing head was Shirley's missing everything. There was simply no sign of her at all. Even more confusing, apart from the blood pooling from the decapitation, which appeared to be done post-mortem due to lack of arterial blood spray, there was no signs of a struggle in the house at all. Like how this happened to Russell and whatever happened to Shirley. I mean, Russell, although he was, he's 88, he was getting on in years, he was still, he still kept fit, he would still be, tough. He would still be, he'd have that old man strength, and he wouldn't have gone quietly. Nothing appeared to have been stolen. The couple's phones, wallets, and even Rolex watches were still in the house.
Thanks for watching WGXA News at 11. I'm Raymond Tubb. Well, first up tonight, the Putnam County Sheriff's Office is trying to find a missing woman whose husband was found murdered this morning. They're trying to locate 87-year-old Shirley Dermond. They believe that she might be the victim of a kidnapping. Investigators were called to the Great Waters community on Lake Oconee in Putnam County this morning. They were called after friends went in to check on the Dermonds and found 88-year-old Russell Dermond dead. Shirley Dermond is 5 feet 2 inches tall and 148 pounds with gray hair and blue eyes. They believe that she was possibly abducted. They think that the crime happened between Friday and Sunday.
This is weird as shit, and as we see this kind of thing again and again and again, people dead or missing and nothing stolen, it was a targeted attack. That's That could only be the thing. If they weren't there for any other shit, they were there for them specifically. But what?
True.
The FBI would put up more than 100 billboards in and around Eatonton and offer $20,000 reward for any information leading to Shirley's safe return. The sheriff and deputies scoured the area with cadaver dogs and even had divers drag the lake behind the Dermond's house. There was simply, despite all of this, there was simply no sign of Shirley.
There's a new tool in the hunt for 87-year-old Shirley Dermond. A week after Dermond's husband Russell was found decapitated in the couple's home on Lake Oconee, state officials are enlisting the use of an ROV, a remote operating vehicle used to scour surrounding waterways. Putnam County Sheriff Howard Sills says investigators are still working inside the Dermond's home as they desperately search for any clues. Sills says his office is conducting interviews, gathering tips, and working to obtain the Dermond's financial records.
No substantial clues or ransom note or anything, led the investigators to believe, well, they couldn't, Shirley could still be alive. Maybe she had done this. Maybe she had killed her husband and chopped his head off initially.
Hell no. Man, I give that shit a 0.0000001% chance of that being the case, that she killed her husband. Come on now. That would shock the shit out of me. We know that ain't happened.
The sheriff suspected that, Russell had been tortured before his death because he had a partially crushed fingertip, but that turned out to be just an old Navy injury. But that was the thing about his body. They had his body, sans head, but no, marks on it, bruises, stab wounds, injuries at all. It was very strange. Now, speaking of mysterious and untraceable groups, still out there to this day, I worry. I worry for you. I sat in the shower last night crying because I was worried about any scary people out there who might be coming for my favorite people. That's you, my boo. So then I thought to myself, well, hey, maybe instead of me going to your house, like crawling down your chimney like a spider to make sure you and yours are safe, maybe I could just tell you guys, the easiest way to keep them safe and untraceable, get NordVPN. NordVPN is the...
Mike, you motherfucker. That was a little cool, smooth way he transitioned into a commercial. Y'all fuck with NordVPN, man. But bro, this one, y'all, I just don't know, man. Just the fact that, his head missing, her whole body, she just missing, period. There's no signs of people going in the house, and you know what I'm saying? Ain't no sign of anybody even been in there. Ain't nothing stolen from the house. His body ain't got no wounds on it. Like, who and why and how and for what did this shit happen? This one of them, I just feel like we just ain't gonna get no good answers with this one. We gonna just be left just like, what the fuck? Let's take it back right here and let's go.
Those dang dirty websites, pop-ups, get out of town, and trackers, no thank you, all gone. They ain't just doing VPNs, they doing the whole...
Okay, well, let's go up a little bit more, man. Goddamn, Mike, now.
Gatehouse into this place, right?
Alright.
For you.
Let's go.
Thank you, Mr. NordVPN. Now let's get back into it. So then, they had a manned gatehouse into this place, right? Alright, the gatehouse will have CCTV. Well, no, it didn't, because unbeknownst to absolutely everybody who lived and worked there, the CCTV was not working. It had gotten a storm a month prior, had knocked it out. So, of all friggin' times for the CCTV to not be working, we have a beheading on the property of, surrounded by all these rich old people. Though maybe the killers knew that? With no car or cell phone to track and little else to go on regarding Shirley's whereabouts, any hope of getting her home began to fade. That is until 10 days later, at a lake 6 miles away, that hope didn't just fade, it cut to black. A man named Dennis Higgins took his boat out for a spot of fishing, but he would get a lot more than the catch he was after. He spotted at first what he thought was a boy. Getting closer, he realized it was no boy. You know where this is going, come on. Shirley's body had been weighed down with 2 30-pound cinder blocks.
Wow.
Now that's something the sheriff noted a professional wouldn't have done. They wouldn't have weighed her body down with cinder blocks, because they simply wouldn't have worked, A decomposing body, underwater, fills with gases. you know, it's gonna float to the surface, kind of no matter what. But her body being dumped at the bottom of a lake 6 miles away from the house just makes an already weird case and terrifying even stranger.
Even crazy.
About 2:30 this afternoon, we received a call here at the sheriff's office from some fishermen in Lake Oconee that they had spotted what they thought to be a body. My deputies immediately responded to that scene in a patrol boat and confirmed it was a body. It most definitely is a homicide. I will not speak on the minutia of this. I'm not going to. Start. This jumps us about 2 checkers up on the checkerboard, shall we say.
Her cause of death wasn't readily apparent, but later deemed to be from blunt force trauma, specifically 2 or 3 strong blows to the head. Her body was clearly never meant to be found. Again, the sheriff began to think that this was not professional, because if it's a professional murder, they'll just kill you and leave you there. They're not going to cut off one person's head and then try and hide the body of another person. Gunshot residue would later be found on Russell's shirt collar, leading the police to suspect that the head was not taken as a trophy or to send some sort of message, but it was out of necessity to stop the bullet from being found and then traced back to the gun that fired it. If the bullet was still knocking around his noodle, well, if the police found that, they could trace it, you know? See, if that would likely kind of mean then that the gun it was fired from and the bullet, like, it was legally owned. It would have been traceable. Again, a professional wouldn't be using a traceable gun. Even those dipshits we just saw, Chris Sutton and your man, his buddy, what's his face, the other lad, they were even smart enough to get untraceable guns by trading shit they had for a weapon from some lowlifes. There's so many bizarre things about this case because it seemed random, you know, to start. But, you know, there was nothing to go on. There wasn't any even tangible evidence that Shirley was killed at the house. There was nothing amiss at the house other than Russell's body, which is even weirder. So, like, there was no blood, there was no mess in the house from either of them other than Russell's body just being found there, headless, and blood leaking out of it. Like, where was he killed? Where was Shirley killed? Did somebody come into the house? Well, then why was nothing amiss? And why work so hard to hide her body, but leave his body minus the head?
Why?
Why spend time decapitating a body to take the bullet, but then hiding the other body, but then leaving this body here? In the days before whatever happened, there had been no indication of anything being wrong. Russell, you know, he was seen running the usual casual errands around town, going to the grocery store, picking up prescription, using the bank. Shirley, she played bridge at the nearby Plaza Arts Center, just as she did every week. Their schedule leading up to what happened was as normal as can be. They had no indication of, you know, they'd spoken to their children on the phone, and there was simply nothing out of the ordinary for either of them. There was nothing there at all. So what exactly happened to the Dermonds between the 2nd of May and the 6th of May? Well, we know they were alive and well on Thursday, the 1st of May. That's the last definite confirmed day they were alive. The 2nd of May was the Friday. This was the day before they were supposed to go to the Kentucky Derby. On the 2nd of May, they had that USA Today crossword, right? And it was half filled out, so they at least did that. But also on the 2nd of May, Russell failed to open an email, and he was very much, you know, he wasn't the type to leave, you know, 1,000 unread emails in his inbox, you know what I mean? So likely whatever happened to the Dermonds had happened, or was happening at that time, happened on the Friday. But by all accounts, the couple were very private, deliberately choosing to have their house in a little enclave away from the others. Their desire for privacy.
Hey, bro, he about to say it, and I, yeah, for real, bro. Just the fact how secluded they was to be that old, man, and just be away from pretty much everybody. Sometimes that ain't a good thing, man. That's like even a young woman. She can be in her 20s or 30s, staying off somewhere with nobody else around, so the big boogeyman can come in there one night and do something to you, and you ain't got no damn help. You know what I'm saying, bro? Like they was at was a pretty defenseless spot where somebody can come do some fucked up shit and get away with it. But I understand it at the same time, bro. They didn't live their whole life. They got all their money. They just want to go be away, live out their last days together in retirement, and just enjoy it. You know what I'm saying? Just enjoy life till it come to an end. On their terms, not when somebody else decide to end it, but when God decides it's supposed to end. Whatever. Let's go. I got caught up with my words then.
See, now was really working against the investigation. Because they lived away from everybody and had, surrounded by trees and it was just very private, none of their neighbors could say they had seen anything or heard anything. Seen any strangers, heard any screams, nothing.
The Putnam County Sheriff's Department has set up a reward fund hoping to generate new leads in the killing of Russell and Shirley Dermond. Today, Putnam County Sheriff Howard Stills announced that a fund has been set and is asking for the public's donations to add to it. The Reynolds Plantation has already donated $30,000.
In the months following the murders, a dozen FBI agents and 10 sheriff's deputies conducted 225 interviews, working 7 days a week. All the Dermond's living children took polygraph tests. All of them passed and have, according to the sheriff, been nothing but helpful in the investigation. So their children has kind of fairly well been ruled out. In fact, the only kid who may or may not have done something would have been Mark, but he was dead. So was this a case of mistaken identity? I mean, they lived in such a remote place and so private, you would think you would know who they were. Like, it wasn't like, this seems like such a gated community, you wouldn't get the wrong house. So then robbery gone wrong? Well, no, because nothing was stolen at all. Did the killers want something the Dermonds had but couldn't give them? Again, the place wasn't, in a mess as if somebody had been searching for something. There was nothing when their neighbors first went in there. It looked perfect. Of course, Mark Dermond's murder gave investigators their first and most obvious line of inquiry, but that went nowhere. His murderer, Shatik Hinnett, was still safely locked up, doing life plus 25. And Russell and Shirley Dermond hadn't even gone to their son's killer's trial. There was no connection between them. The Russell and Shirley had a long cut-off mark by the time he was killed in Atlanta. One early theory was that Russell, he was from New Jersey, maybe he'd been doing some dealings with the Sopranos, kind of shit, mafia from Jersey or something. Maybe they had put out a hit on him, make him sleep with the fishes, and then Shirley was his collateral damage, but that didn't really hold much water. It seemed like Russell was a pretty straight-edge guy, didn't get into dealings with gangs and that kind of stuff. Then also it was suggested that it was a cartel sending a message, the murders were a message. I mean, they seemed kind of dramatic, let's say that, but I mean, then there was no what's the message?
What's message?
If you're sending a message, it's usually a good idea to leave a message. The lack of evidence was evidence itself. No blood spatter at the scene indicates that if, as investigators believe, Russell was shot in the head, he probably wasn't shot in the home or garage where his body was found. Which then begs another question. Was he shot outside? Did anybody hear a gunshot? And if he was shot outside, why bring his body inside? And would they have been seen? This case just constantly raises questions, which then have 10 more questions.
Exactly.
The FBI's Behavioral Sciences Division even drew up a profile of who the perpetrators could be, Though the sheriff would later say the profile they drew up said the killers, they like guns and knives, so that's helpful. The killers like guns or knives. Wow, really?
It is personal. There's a lot of indications of the psychology and the behavior behind that. It's not a random crime.
The sheriff, though, Howard Stills, he's a bit of a character, and he, even to this day, he has not let anything go. He's every single thing he can do, he is doing.
Is there anything that people need to be looking out for, or what is suspicious that they can call about, or?
I hate to be graphic, but obviously, or sound crude, but obviously we're still looking for Mr. Dermond's head. We got to concentrate on what we know. Where we go is driven not by speculation, but by the evidence that we have. And evidence is not always, certainly in most cases, it's not some forensic thing. It's witnesses and records and things, some tangible things. And we can speculate as long as we want.
Decapitations are pretty rare, so you think that would be a clear indication of what could have happened, but no. There's so many questions in this case, not least being the complete lack of an obvious motive. And, as is so often, once you get the motive, you can find out who it was, but there's nothing there. It's a big question mark. Tips coming in ranged from the helpful, a neighbor seeing a man in his garden the day of the murder, but it was a man he couldn't describe, so the invisible man. Another woman also claimed to have a revelation and helpfully informed the sheriff that this case may involve water. Murder on a lake may involve water. You're blowing my mind right now. Another tip or suggestion was that an alligator is responsible for what happened to Shirley and Russell. A hungry alligator came in, bit off Russell's head, and then bet Shirley to death and weighed her body down with cinder blocks. Can't rule out though what those fuckers would do. Another...
Really? That's off. That's off. That is off. But man, it just seemed like, bruh, everybody at the point, man, people just throwing out theories, man. Cause don't nobody know nothing, bro. I mean, we don't know. Anything possible with this case. Almost. But let's go.
Another tip even was that Todd Colehep, a serial killer I've covered yonks before, he may have been involved. He was active in South Carolina at the time, and he was known to do random attacks. Much like this. I mean, it's savage enough. However, that seems to have just been a hunch. Todd Colehep was always yapping away about what the shit he had been up to, and doesn't seem to be anything there. He's never said anything about it. The couple had sold their boat a couple of years prior to the murders, but they kept the dock out back. So even though the gatehouse wasn't able to capture anyone who went in the day of the murders, it's more likely, with the Dermonds living on an extensive lake, the killers approached the house by boat. They then used that boat to transport Shirley's body from the scene of the crime and dump it in the water. There were no cameras on that body of water, of course, so it would have come and gone unseen. But it once again adds to the fact that the killers probably knew the Dermonds, knew where they were going, and knew what they were doing.
He thinks at least 2 people worked together to kill the couple in their 80s 2 years ago last month. He knows the killer accessed their home by boat, and he thinks they knew their killer on some level.
Yeah, I do. Because there's nothing disturbed in the house. Whoever did this is certainly capable of doing it again. And don't think they won't do it to you.
More than 8 years later, the sheriff continues to pursue this case, even going so far as to investigate crimes that have similarities across America. He's not shared much, but insists, they've had breakthroughs and progression, but, well, as I said, hasn't shared much, and don't know if an arrest is coming anytime soon. He also suspects that the victims knew at least one of their killers, at least in a passing capacity, if not very familiar enough to open their door and welcome them in.
When are you planning to retire?
Me?
Yeah.
Never.
Never. Is this case something that you're dedicated to finishing in your...
Oh, sure. This is a case I'm dedicated to finish this week if I can get the opportunity to do it, but I have no intentions of retiring anytime soon. I mean, I'm a good-looking guy like me. Youth, picture of youth, where would I go? Why would I retire?
Hopefully someday, sometime, they'll, get some lead, some clue. Someone who knew about the case, who heard about it and knew, oh yeah, I know who did that, yeah, sure. This lad over here, those boyos. But multiple people must have been involved to do what was done. And the vital piece of this picture is still out there somewhere. Hopefully one day, it'll be found, but today, it's just a horrific beheading, beating, lake killing. It's awful. It's a horrific, terrifying case, but I mean, well, that's it. You know, you don't know. Shanae, thank you so much for watching, and please let me know.
Oh, fuck my people. God damn, man. I hate these type of videos. I love them, but I hate them, man. Because we don't know, bro. Like, this one, I can't remember a video I done watched in a long time. Now, we be watching unsolved cases and cold cases, you know what I'm saying? But this one, we ain't got a clue in the world for real of who could have actually did this shit. Like there is nothing to go off for real. The two things I can agree with that just seemed the most likely to have happened was whoever went in their house, they came by boat. They came from the lake. Because that was just seemed like the easiest way, and the fact the lady body was found in the lake, which they could have drove to after they took her body on the boat. You know what I'm saying? It seems like that is possible. And there's one more other thing that I think gotta be pretty possible. And that is that whoever did this actually knew them people. They had to been knew them, bro. They had to been knew them, man. I mean, cause it just don't seem like no random shit. Somebody just, even a sick, demented murderer motherfucker, I don't see them just doing this random shit and then doing it in such a way where they getting away with it and covering all they tracks and leaving no evidence. Like, nah, they knew that they was an elderly couple. They knew where they stayed. They knew how they could get to their house. They knew what they could do. Probably had been in their house before, bro. Like, whoever did this, I feel like really knew that couple, bro. Just a fucked up situation. This one kind of like, for real, y'all, got my head hurt, man, because I just don't know. And I'm just trying, like, when Mike started throwing out all them theories that people was coming up with, I was coming up with theories in my head of what possibly could have happened. And at the end of the day, we don't know, man. I just hope that one day we do know. And the last thing I want to say is shout out to them police. This one of them cases where I can honestly say shout out to the police, because they been on it from the jump, bro. Like, they really trying, bro. They really trying, bro. And they ain't gave up yet. They ain't gave up yet. And what he said, it been 8 years since this shit happened. And they ain't gave up yet. They don't even think they classified it as a cold case yet. And a lot of times, shit, police call it a cold case months or a year after a murder. They just be like, oh, it's cold, we don't know. But they trying, bro. All the interviews they did, over 200 and something interviews, and just searching the house over and over. They searched the lake. Like, these police put in some work, man. So I just gotta give them credit for that, y'all. There was another great one, man, by our boy Mike from that chapter. Oh, man. Just got my head hurting a little bit, because I just wonder who the fuck did this shit. But I digress. Glad y'all came back and fuck with me, man. Hey, I'll see y'all very, very soon. More than likely tomorrow. And y'all just hit that like button for me as always before you leave. If you ain't hit it yet. Comment if you want to, man. And subscribe, bro. If you just watch my video and you ain't subscribed yet, you're tripping now. Come on now. Fuck with me. And until I see y'all again, my friends, one more thing to say. Love, peace, and happiness. Stay safe. Don't stop. Keep going. Yeah.